There was a Super Bowl commercial for Monster.com. This was, oh golly, long time ago. I don't know how long ago. But anyway, the Super Bowl commercial from Monster.com, right? Monster being um, the job search website, and there's a bunch of kids, and and in the commercial, this one kid goes, "I want to claw my way up to middle management," right? I just the entire commercial was about uh, mediocrity. At least that part of it was about mediocrity. Right? I get people asking me all the time in when I'm teaching real estate classes, right? The pre-licensing courses. What does the average real estate agent make? Or how many houses does the average real estate agent sell? And I tell them exactly what the title of this episode is. You can't afford to be average. If you plan to use real estate to as your livelihood, if real estate is going to be your livelihood, helping people to buy and sell houses, you can't afford to be average, right? When you break it down, take all the homes sold divided by the number of real estate agents there are in any given place. I'm just use El Paso as an example, since that's where I am. It comes out to about 3 homes per agent per year is what we sell, and uh, and you can't afford to be average because you got somebody out there, because of the 80/20 rule, 90/10 rule, whatever, 95/5 rule, that's selling hundreds of houses. That means that he's taking away, or she is taking away um, the food for people lower down on the list. So you can't afford to be average, right? Today's chapter 8 of the 10X rule, right here on the Millionaire Mindset Book Club. Thanks for being here, by the way. Chapter 8 is entitled Average is a Failing Formula. And when you look at the word average, right, I'm going to go all the way to the last paragraph or the last sentence of the chapter. It says, if you look up the word average and look at the synonyms, right, for the word average, other words that mean the same thing: typical, common, ordinary. Is that how you want to? Is that how you want to be perceived? Right? Oh, he's a typical worker, right? He does an average, a common job, an ordinary job, nothing special, right? Um, that's is that the is that the perception that you want people to have of you, right? The average worker, and this is one of the reasons that I started the book club. The average and statistics are all over the board. So, but we're gonna go with this. We're gonna run with this one, right? The average worker reads an average of less than one book a year, and works an average of 37 and a half hours a week. The average CEO, or let's just say, um, the that same person, that average worker, makes 319 times less money than the top CEOs in the United States, who claim to read more than 60 books a year. Now, I don't know about 60, but 12, right? A book a month. If you read 10 pages, of a book every day, right? The average, I don't even know what the average book is. This one is not including the index, is um, the index or the glossary. Let's take those both out. This book is roughly 200 pages, right? 200 pages. If you read 10 pages a day, just Monday through Friday, right? The book 10X would be read in a month, right? Would be read in a month. And And since we've been doing the book club, the Millionaire Mindset Book Club, we've done approximately 12 books a year. That's about what it works out, 12, 13 books a year, right? And we're only going Monday through Thursday, right? Monday through Thursday, typically. So the point is, the majority of the people don't read, right? And so we started the book club to say, hey, look, let's do one chapter a day, one chapter of a book a day. This is your encouragement. If you just stick with the book club 4 days a week, you'll read 12 books a year, right? And how much is a book worth to you, right? One of the other things, it's in one of Grant Cardone's other books, right? Is this book says it's $24.95, right? Is what it says on the back, $24.95. Is this book worth? And people will go, I don't want to pay $25 for a book. What is a book worth to you? The reality is if you get one idea out of this book, one idea from this book could make you millions. So what's a book worth to you, right? So anyway, average person, one book a year. I've heard other statistics that the average person doesn't read another book in their lifetime after they graduate from college. Statistics and stuff like that are suspect. They're always suspect in my mind. But the reality is that the average person doesn't read a whole lot, right? How does that make you different, right? And even when you talk about CEOs and leaders of companies, you can have leaders of companies that are average. He tells a story in here about Howard Schultz, right, the CEO of Starbucks, that when in 2008, when the economy went right, a lot of companies started cutting back, right? And they started cutting costs. What can we do to cut costs? And Starbucks did the same thing, right? They looked at ways they could cut costs. But another thing that they did is that it says the CEO of Starbucks, CEO or the founder, started traveling across the country, right? Started traveling all across the country to meet with Starbucks customers, right? To meet with Starbucks customers. So you compare that to the quote unquote average CEO, right? Here's a guy who's a billionaire, gazillionaire, whatever, traveling across the country to meet with customers, late in the day, early in the evening, whatever, to find out what those customers wanted so he could continue his business, right? And here you've got a company that and it's exactly what Grant Cardone says, that sells something that nobody needs. Nobody, right? Nobody needs a $5 cup of coffee, right? Nobody needs that. And yet, here's Starbucks constantly, there's always a line. Right. So a difference. Howard Schultz out there beating, not average, not accepting average. The reality is if you're willing to accept average, right, you get what you accept in life, right? Every day. If you accept it, if you accept people being late for meetings with you, then that's what you're going to get all the time, right? I put that one in there because I hate being late. I hate it. Right. So any undertaking that includes accepting average is gonna fail you sooner or later. The normal levels of action that most people operate under don't take into account the effects of various forces on the operation. Right? Gravity, age, resistance, timing, the unexpected. Right? When average actions hit any resistance, they stop. Market conditions, right? Lack of interest, right? Negative or challenging market conditions, competition, all these things, you find your business crumbling, right? don't. I mentioned it the other day, and this comes from a different Grant Cardone book, right? He said, "Don't compete, dominate." Right? Don't worry about being a competition. Worry about dominating. Right? Um, um, Average levels of anything will fail you, or at least put you at risk. Think about it. I'm going to save for my, I'm saving for my future, right? For my retirement. On average, the average person lives to be whatever age. What if you live 20 years past that? What if you only save enough money to last you as long as the average person lives, and then you live longer than that, or you get sick, or you have a family member, a child that needs financial assistance, right? Um, you can't afford to plan for average, right? Average doesn't work in any area of your life, right? You have to change your commitment and your thinking to be far above any concepts of average, right? Uh, that's pretty huge. I got to tell you, when I say we, my partners and I started our first real estate company, we looked at the people that we wanted to recruit. We looked at the people. We said, you know what, we can do this. This is how much. There were three of us, right? There were three of us. This is how much each one of us had sold in real estate over the last couple of years, right? And this, the way we did this is well before 10X, right? Before the book. And we said, well, okay, this is how much each one of us produced, right? And here are the people that we, are anticipating are going to come with us. And here's how much they've produced, the average that they've produced over the last however many years, right? And it was a struggle. When we opened up, we figured this, okay, this is how much money we're going to need to start, and it wasn't enough. And this is how much time and effort we're going to have to put in. And that way, we didn't even come close to figuring that out, because one of the things that happened is, okay, here's my average production, right, over the last 3 years, but didn't take into account, okay, now I've got to do now, and on top of producing, I've got to do this and this and this and this and this, and you have to do these things to keep the business running. And when you do those things, what happens? Your production drops, right? And so we struggled, with that, and so every month, boom, you got to write a check. You got to write a check to put into the company bank account, so you make sure that you pay the secretary and keep the electricity on and all of that kind of stuff. And that stuff is hard, right? People that base their business plans based on average considerations are going to struggle, and I will attest to that, right? Firsthand, right? Firsthand. We optimistically in any situation, in real estate in particular, people get into the business and go, okay, I'm gonna do this, and they are super optimistic about how much money they're gonna make, and they underestimate how much money they're going to need to spend, right? They overestimate how well things are going to go, and underestimate how much energy and effort it's going to take just to push through. So you cannot afford to think average. Think massive, right? Think massive. He says in here, Grant Cardone says in here, compare your actions to having to carry 1,000-pound backpack that you're going to wear every day into a 40-mile-an-hour wind on a 20-degree uphill slope, right? Prepare for massive, persistent action, and you will win, right? Most businesses fail because they're unable to sell their products, their services, et cetera, at prices that are high enough to sustain the company and fund its activity, right? Average never yields anything more than average, and usually much less, right? Average thinking and actions are only going to guarantee you misery, uncertainty, and failure, right? Get rid of average. Get that word out of your vocabulary, right? Remember, success is your duty, your obligation, and your responsibility. And so you've got to get rid of the word average, the typical, the common, the ordinary actions, the typical, the common, the ordinary effort. Get that out. Think massive. Think 10x. And we will see you on Monday, the 15th of January, Martin Luther King Day. Even on Martin Luther King Day, you can read. You might not work, right? You might not work, but you can still read. Hope to see you again soon, right here on the Millionaire Mindset Book Club. Have a wonderful day. Get out there. Make today the best day of your life so far. See you later.